The Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast. I thought the intro was going to play. It finally did. So we're glad that you joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us each and every day here on the Auburn Blitz and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Brett and Randy here on a Wednesday morning for you. A lot to talk about. I know it's hard to believe, but we do. Going into this road game with Arkansas. Some changes at practice that I saw and Faith saw yesterday. We sent a video out. Hopefully, a lot of people saw that. I think they did. When you're in a slump like this, you're trying to find ways to just change the whole mantra, to change the whole feel. The definition of insanity, Randy's doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. So, hey, look, I at least applauded that. So when we showed up to practice yesterday, and I'm pretty observant, you know that. And one of the first things I noticed was the warm-ups. And I said it in our little video after practice. I said it may not be anything. And we had even said this a few weeks ago, that the defense has always warmed up together and the offense warms up in different position groups. Well, that wasn't the case yesterday. The offense was doing exactly what the defense was doing. They were all together. So, look, I don't know. And there's more than just that were changes. But, hey, right out of the gate, we saw something different.
Well, you and I have been calling ball games together for a long time, so you can testify that I've said this over the years. You can tell a lot about a team based off of the way they carry themselves before the game, warming up. Are they organized? Do they seem like they've got a plan? Because over the years, you and I've seen teams that are totally discombobulated when the game's getting set up to play, the way that they warm up. You can tell they're dead on the field. You know, I'll talk about the coach you and I cover every Friday night. One of the things that has impressed me the most about Kirk Johnson, and by the way, I think he's going to end up being a college guy one day. I'll go ahead and throw that out there and you can come back to it. But I think he's that good. I hope we keep him around Ellick City for a long time. But, Brett, just the way that we warm up, the way that the coaches are engaged with the players, how emotional and passionate that the players seem before a game. And it's not just rah-rah. I mean, it is really bouncing around and getting motivated and showing just a team atmosphere. And I'm sure that that's the same feel that we're trying to get now. The upsetting thing is we're halfway through the third season under Hugh Freeze, and we're still changing things midway through the season. You know, a lot of coaches that have gotten to the level that Hugh Freeze has gotten to have a certain process-oriented way that they do things. Well, I mean, I'm all for them changing, Brett. You hear me loud and clear that I'm not being negative about that. But I am saying that if you're changing that midway through the season, then it's clear that things aren't going in the direction that you want them to go. And you must go in there and try to kind of spice things up. But it's unfortunate that we've gotten to this situation to begin with. This team's way too talented to be in this situation. I do think they've got good pieces in that locker room.
No, they got more than good pieces.
I think there's good coaches around that have won a lot of football games at other places and have played on some really good teams themselves in the past. For whatever reason, it's just not transitioning to wins on the field.
Well, I'm going to go back real quick. And, again, we brought this up 3 or 4 weeks ago, so you can go back and look at it. Seen some other people post about it, but, you know, I think we were first to the dance because sometimes people don't pick up on the little things. But I made a comment about does one side of the ball do it one way and one side, and I get that. I mean, everybody's got their different style, but you're a team. And, you know, to be honest with you, the ironic thing is the way those two sides of the ball warm up is a representative of how they played this year. Segmented, isolated, not together, offense, together, cohesive unit, all one, pulling in the same direction. Defense. I mean, it's kind of crazy to look at it from a simplistic term like that, but it's the truth. And, I'm kind of proud of me and Faith and Kyle that kind of picked up on that a few weeks ago and said, look, I know this is kind of as obvious as the nose on your face, but maybe there's something to this. So look, glad to see that change. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll change some things. I'm going to go through some of these changes real quick, Randy, and then so everybody will know. Of course, you can go back and look at the video from yesterday too. Some of you have. Darrell Robinson was back in pads. That's good. Again, still don't know to what level and when he will be back, but he's making progress. So thankfully for him on a personal level, he's going to be able to be back. And obviously I pushed a video out yesterday of Kel Ellis, being the center, but there was some difference in the period 5. Mason Murphy was the center with Jackson Arnold, and Kel Ellis was the center with Ashton Daniels, and Kel Ellis and Ashton Daniels went second. Jackson Arnold and Mason Murphy went first. I don't even know what that means, because in games where Connor Lewis had to go out against Oklahoma, and this past week when he went down permanently, Kel Ellis was the center. But now, yesterday, we see Mason Murphy, if Jackson Arnold's still the number one guy, taking the snaps during period 5 with Jackson. So I don't know if they're trying to find some things, and Mason Murphy was talked about on Monday by Hugh Freeze about as an option at center too. So it's not like, let's just throw this out there and see what sticks. They know, and he's had previous experience being able to do those positions too, center and guard. So I don't know if they really know who they want to go with Saturday at center.
Well, I hadn't heard of him playing center. I mean, that's news to me. I know that he was at practice yesterday, and I heard the press conference where he said it, but when he was recruited, he was more of a guard tackle option. I've never heard him listed as a potential center, but let's look back at some previous years that we've had success, Brett. I mean, I'll go back to Ryan Pugh when he was really young. He's a center, but if he needed to move out the tackle because of an injury, he was one of our top offensive linemen, and he had the ability to do that. And so I'll bring that up, and maybe Mason Murphy is one of our top 6 or 7 offensive linemen, and it's not as much of a need position at the tackle position, but he would be a good fit at center and let Too Tall play the tackle, or let some others get into the flow that they feel are more ready for the college game. I'm just throwing a what if out there. But at this point in time, give everybody an opportunity to go in there and see who can take the bull by the horns. We're at a point in the season, Brett, where there may be some practice players that are extremely good in practice, but you get into game time, and for whatever reason, they just can't transition their game on Saturdays. Maybe that's a quarterback question. I mean, I'll ask you, when you're watching the quarterbacks play, including Deuce, and add Deuce into this mix, is it very obvious that Jackson's the best of the 3?
No.
Do you think that the reason that he's getting the starts based on just seniority or the transfer in?
I'm not in
the option. Give me a feel on that.
I'm not in offensive meetings, so I don't know when they're talking about breaking film down and looking at things. I know that goes into it too. It's not just like you said, play on the field and out there in drills, completing out routes and slants and deep balls, but can you actually read a defense, and can and I'm throwing this out there because obviously Jackson Arnold has a hard time doing that in games. He has a hard time pulling the trigger and being sure about what he wants to do, and then by then it's too late and plays have broken down and all that. So I don't have an answer for the rationale of why Jackson Arnold's playing. Now, I will say this. When it was like Ashton Daniels comes out there and it was his turn, and his first pass was an interception. I'm like, man, everybody wants the next guy up. And granted, the ball was tipped, but it's kind of like we were all standing there, and it was and he didn't complete a pass in his whole session. Okay, I'm just telling everybody. There was one Sam should have caught, but there were a couple more passes that weren't close. And, I don't know if it was pressure. And then you look at it, and then Mason Murphy, when he was in there with Jackson Arnold, all his snaps were low. I know we talked about Kel Ellis in the game, and he had a boatload of high snaps. And Jackson Arnold did a good job of saving those and making sure they weren't really bad plays that went over his head or whatever. But for the most part, there's still a lot of discombobulation, and there's still a lot of I don't see a lot of high level execution, even in practice. I didn't see Malcolm Simmons with the first or second team receivers yesterday. He wasn't even in the mix with them on either side. So I don't know what's going on there. So yeah, again, we get 45 minutes of practice. Most of it's individual drill stuff. The only period where we can't show anything is period 5. Because it is the hurry up, no huddle, and it's rapid and stuff that you're going to actually play calling and signals. By the way, speaking of signals, obviously other teams have our signals for whatever reason, but so I saw a lot of that. So there's some good and some bad from yesterday that I can give everybody.
A couple of takeaways, and I want to get into that comment by Lane Kiffin. Because I think that's one you and I need to talk about. But, Hugh Freeze, I was a little taken back by his comments on Perry Thompson and Malcolm. And first off, of course, I've witnessed what Malcolm goes through from a coaching standpoint at the high school you and I cover. But, he pretty he pretty much said that Perry Thompson came in, he didn't know how to practice. He came in, didn't know the route tree, had to be trained all of these things. And maybe that's true, Brett. And then he went to Malcolm, and he said pretty much the same thing on Malcolm. Malcolm was a little bit the same. And I'm sure that that's the case in certain extents. But, Brett, in today's world with the coaching that they receive in high school and the coaching that they get on these circuits and how many training sessions they have with top-notch receivers, and if you're a big-time recruit, you're playing in these major 7-on-7 tournaments. I'm not saying there's not things to learn. I'm not saying that. But to go out there and say that that's the reason that some of these players aren't successful on Saturdays and we've got to wait a year or two, like we have with Perry Thompson, to find him a place in a way that he can make plays. I mean, my eyes tell me that what we expected to get with Perry Thompson, we're now getting. Why we didn't get that to begin with, I don't know. I mean, they're the ones coaching them up, not you and I and anybody else. It just feels like a whole bunch of excuses. It always seems to
when
be
you lose, there's going to be a lot of searching on why things aren't going the way you want them to go, and that I've seen Hugh Freeze's. I've seen him shift his verbiage toward now more players. The Oklahoma and the Texas A&M losses were, oh, well, this is all. I mean, you can go back and look at the post-game pressers. This is all on me. It's all on our coaches. It's not the guys. We got to do a better job. Then you get into the Georgia game, it's like, well, we had 11 missed assignments on the last drive, and we had 15 total for the game. And
whose fault is that?
Well, let me finish up, and then I'll answer that question. But my point is, now all of a sudden it is more of the players getting the brunt of, and ultimate defender of Jackson Arnold now going, well, he hasn't gotten to the point where we want him to be, and he's got to be better in those situations, and all of that stuff that you're hearing now. So you've shifted your focus now to away from you to now more of, well, we got to have better execution. Now he's partly right on that. You know, Cam Coleman's got to catch when he finally gets an opportunity to catch a deep ball. He got to catch it. You know, when Jackson Arnold finally has an opportunity to make those, he's got to make it. You know, so he's partly right on that, but it's just when you get in this situation where you're now 0-4 in SEC play and you're staring down the barrel of a loaded gun of here we go again, you start digging and coming up with reasons why things aren't going the way they are. The thing that baffles me more than anything is how you can be so good on one side of the ball and so bad on the other. Like, you are elite top 10 in the country on defense. No questions. No questions. Every single team Auburn's played, they've held under their point average for the season. Okay?
Substantially.
Yes. On offense, you can't get past 20 points. You can't get to 20. And so it's baffling to me how you can be so polar opposite on the same team and still be together. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't see the defense guys pointing fingers at the offense, saying they're terrible and we're having to pick them up and we're out here dragging our tongue on the ground because we're having to play the whole game because they can't do that. I don't see any of that. I don't see any dissension between our guys. I don't. It's there for the taking, because after you take one beating after another, finally somebody loses their cool and says something, you know, and you know how it goes. It's kind of like the dam burst. You know, one comment can just make it all explode, but they've not done that, man. And so it's just crazy.
Well, you go back to your Malcolm comment before we talk a little bit on that Lane Kiffin. But like Malcolm, all he does is catch punts and speed sweeps.
That's all he does, man.
He's in his second year. I mean, when's the last time they spotted him on a big time pass play on a third down or something? I can't remember it.
You remember the Oklahoma game last year, the big pass he caught, the big catch for the touchdown over the top?
He's how many receptions does he have on the season?
I'm about to pull that up. I'm going to look that up.
I can't imagine that he's had more than 10 in the last 4 games total. It's unfortunate. I feel for him.
You feel for the whole team, and you know, again.
Well, I know him though. I personally know that he is probably putting the effort in. I've witnessed the way that he practices. I know what type of effort that he gives you, not only in games but at practice. And
Malcolm has 12 catches for 102 yards
on the season.
Now, Cam Coleman has 30 for 413, which is a pretty good year, to be honest. It could be way better. I mean, it could be way better. I mean, he's probably left, whether on drop passes or overthrows, in 2 or 3 games I know of, could have an easily another 200 yards to that. So, I mean, Cam Coleman could be up around 40 catches for 650 yards. Eric Singleton's had a good season, 36 catches for 311. But again, a lot of these passes, Randy, are within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. These are swing passes. These are, you know, little outs. They're safety valve type passes that Jackson Arnold is comfortable throwing. But anything that has any semblance of a risk to it, a crossing pattern, a deep ball, you know, a tough hash mark to far boundary throw, you don't see those passes from Jackson Arnold. And you can keep going down the list. Horatio Fields has the same amount of catches Malcolm has, and he ain't played in 3 or 4 games. 12 catches, 106 yards, and then Perry's got 8. Most of that coming in the last couple of games, and that's really it significantly for Auburn in the pass reception category.
And we built this thing up to maybe the best receiving core in Auburn history, and it's just unfortunate.
Talent-wise, they probably are.
Well, it's getting ridiculous at this point. I wish I could spin it in any other direction. I can't. Back to Lane Kiffin's comments, though, Brett. I don't think you could compliment me more as a coach then I watch film and I know every tendency and every play that the opposition's going to run on offense. If I were a defensive coach and you said that about me, I'd be like, please more. I mean, just fill me full of all this sunshine, please, because you can't compliment a coach any better, but that's their job. Their
Right.
job is to put you in a situation where you can make plays.
Right.
You know, I've given this example over the years just because anyone that has played this sport have been in situations where they've had great coaching that just knew by tendencies everything that was going on. I've given for instance, when we were in high school, Brett, at Anniston High School won state championship your senior year. The next year we played them, and some of you out there may know this name, but Willie Carl Martin was our defensive coordinator. Well, he watched film all weekend before we played them in an area championship game the following year. And I mean, every single play they ran based off of their formation, we knew the exact play they were running. We shut them out that night. And they were more talented than us. They were a championship caliber program at the time. They had won 2 state championships in 5 years. And that's high school, but the same thing goes on in college. I mean, if your tendencies are that easy to read, then it makes playing that side of the ball in that sport so much easier, Brett. For Lane Kiffin, who, by the way, I think Lane Kiffin was more directing that towards Oklahoma.
No, he absolutely was. This was
I
not.
think he was. I'm not, but it's still it's still a shot.
No, but it still didn't take away that it's embarrassing for you. For he's in Auburn that he said that.
I mean, the idea that another coach.
But he does take shots when he can. So it was probably 50-50. He was definitely talking about Oklahoma, but he was like, okay, I didn't know how poor things are going over here without me just directly saying.
It's the only thing that makes sense, Brett. When you're running the ball easily down the field on scripted plays on that opening drive, and then after the opening drive, where you've got to go to the play sheet and you've got to start calling signals and things from the sideline, and then all of a sudden you can't move the ball at all. That doesn't make a lot of sense other than they know what we're doing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they've got the signals, Brett. I mean, alignment can tell you exactly what someone's doing if you've been trained up well enough. And I get that feel a lot with Auburn. I mean, it's like they know what we're doing. I mean, it's clear as the nose on my face exactly what we're doing here. And gosh, how long have we been saying that as Auburn fans?
A long time. I mean, it just seems like
was the disgust with Gus at the end. It was the disgust with Gus and the route tree, and
we predicted the first play of every game it was going to be a run up the middle. I mean, we knew it. So I mean, people can say now that they're 5 years removed from Gus, oh well, we would miss Gus and all that, but the reason we're here is because Gus had become so predictable and Auburn was vanilla, and so we're still vanilla. So I mean, that's not the answer either. So yeah, it was better than what we got right now, but it was on its way to this. It was not going in the other direction. The man had been here since 2013, had been there 7-8 years, and it wasn't getting any better. It was at best going to stay where it was, and you can't fault somebody for saying, hey, let's go get better. Now, does that mean you went and got better? No, you didn't. You went and got way worse. But at least at the time you were like, well, we're not okay with this. But now you've gotten into a level we've never seen before. So let's get to some of our partners here on the program. They allow us to do this every single day. We appreciate them so much. Sensagreen, for air that's cool and clean, call on Sensagreen. They are the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama. They save you thousands of dollars on new installations. And if you need a new carrier unit, you need to call them. They also will save you on your power bill, because this new efficient carrier unit is going to save you a lot of money on your power bill each and every month. So go to Sensagreen for heating, cooling, and insulation. Call on Sensagreen. Scout Program Management saw Sloan and Charles yesterday. Methodical, meticulous, holding people accountable. I can't use enough adjectives to tell people how well run that organization is at Scout Program Management. You want to hire them, because I can promise you don't know what the heck you're looking at on a multi-million-dollar project, but they do. And they're going to make sure you get what you pay for. And that's one thing they said last night at a meeting I was at. They went, you guys paid a lot of money for this building. and it's our job to make sure you get the best product you possibly can. Because, Randy, you and I both know people will cut corners and they'll try to get out of town and leave you with whatever they can leave you. But Scout Program Management is going to make sure they don't do that. So call on them. If you've got a big project coming up, you need them to lead your project too. Bunkers in downtown Auburn, what an awesome place. It is one of the most fun places to go eat, have great food, great entertainment. Arkansas game on the road this weekend. Go up to Bunkers. It's a midday game. The bars will be open. The weather's going to be nice. That's the place to be. So if you're not making it to Fayetteville and you're downtown Auburn, you need to go check out Bunkers. 50 parking spots there. Never have to worry about fighting somebody for a parking spot, and that's always huge. So check them out there. Justin's got the prediction: Arkansas 31, Auburn 27. That would be actually that would be impressive if we could get to 27. This Arkansas team. All right, here's what you've been riding the back of for the last 4 weeks. Well, we played a top 15 team and we've lost by possession, and we're right there and we're so close. Blah blah blah. Okay, you've ridden that one for 4 weeks. Now it's Arkansas. They're 2-5. Yeah, they score a lot of points. Probably one of the better offenses Auburn's going to play, which is crazy. But again, doesn't scare me because Auburn's defense. What does scare me is how bad Arkansas's defense is and how inept our offense is, and are we going to still sputter against literally the worst defense in the league? I mean, when you go look at it from a numbers standpoint, I'm not sure anybody's worse defensively than Arkansas. Now, they've lost 4 games by field goal, Randy. They're 2-5, and they've lost 4 by field goal. And to Tennessee and whatever. The only team that really just raked them over the coals was Notre Dame. And Notre Dame beat them pretty good. But outside of that, they've lost by field goal, and they've been in overtime, and, they've been right there. Scares the heck out of me, man, for Auburn to go up to Arkansas now with a rejuvenated offense under Bobby Petrino and a quarterback like Taylor Green that's already thrown for almost 2,000 yards and already run for over 600. Like, we know how good he is. Now, again, defense is our strength. Offense isn't, but it's going to be interesting to see who wins that battle. Can Auburn's offense muster up enough points against a horrific defense? And plus, there's no going into the press conference saying you lost a close game to a top 15 team, because this team's got a losing record and they've already fired their coach. That's where it all sits.
Well, I think it all sets up the way that it has in the past. I mean, when Auburn's matched up with, say, a Mississippi State or an Arkansas, and you're supposed to win and the fan base expects you to win, and then you lose, that's when even the few that are left on your bus get off. And I think that's where we are with this program right now, Brett. I think it's a tough matchup. I think being on the road is going to be difficult until they prove me wrong.
I'll be honest with you, Randy. I've been to all the road games, and I don't think the environment's affected Auburn. I don't. I just do not. It hasn't affected our defense one iota. Like, we played in offense, man. Like,
we're bad wherever we play those.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, my point is, like, we played just as bad at home. So yeah, I don't know that the road factor at 11:45 is that big a deal. I just don't.
Well, I mean, if you've got to ask me which one's the bigger deal, that we're terrible on offense or the road, I'm going to go we're terrible on offense is the key. But then if you kind of add in that we're on the road, I think that it is the dynamic that makes it a little more difficult to communicate out there on the field from an offensive standpoint. But we hadn't communicated well even when we're at home. So
I'd go one step further and say we probably played better on the road. That's wild to say.
I'd say when you.
I mean, I think we left 14 to 17 points on the field. Oklahoma. I think that was our best. I mean, I thought we played best offensively that game. Yeah, I mean, you missed the over-the-top pass to Cam. They kind of screw you on some bad call. Everybody kind of was on the same page on that one. Everybody felt like, well, yeah, Auburn missed some plays, but you got screwed on some plays. So it was, and then ever since then, and then you probably had your most putrid performance against A&M. So it was back-to-back weeks. You went from probably your best to your worst, and then Georgia and Missouri's kind of in between. I think the best half of football has been Georgia, obviously, the first half, and you still only scored 10 points. So,
question mark I've got, I'll finish up with my comments there, though. I mean, I think a good outing for Auburn is going to be holding them to 24 to 27 points at home for Arkansas, the way that they've moved the football and the way they've scored the football. So if you only give up 24 points, can you get to 20? And there's no part of me watching that offense right now that makes me think that we do. So we'll see. I mean, it's definitely over if we go over there and lose. I mean, now you may let
it's over now, but I mean, it just this is now like I said on the title of the podcast this morning. Is it too late? There's so many factors of why Auburn can turn this around. And you made a comment about Auburn having pieces earlier. That locker room's loaded with talent, man. It's more than pieces, and it's on offense too, man. You got great receivers. You got good offensive linemen that have underachieved. You have a great running back in Jeremiah Cobb. You had I can just go down the list on defense. Again, the underachievement of this particular season is at an all-time high. Now, last year, you lost 5 games, and it was like, well, yeah, we turned the ball over, and we weren't efficient in the red zone and stuff like that. And you were like, okay, that's year 2, still gotta add some pieces. There ain't no excuse this year. Look, I'm not willing to say everything I said during the summer and the spring, just wad it up and throw it out. I mean, we talked about all that for 3 months, about how much better this roster is, how this schedule was favorable for Auburn, and how 8-4, 9-3 was absolutely attainable and should be the expectation. And now we're sitting right back in this. This is the worst of all of them. This one this year, where we are currently, is worse than any of them prior to this. Okay? And then if you were to win out, let's say Auburn starts on Saturday and were to win out, I'm more mad then, because it's like, why in the world did you waste 5 weeks of a season adding the off week in between all these games here, the 0-4 start and the off week? And I know that's not going to happen. I'm just being hypothetical. I would be more pissed off then, because it's like, okay, what the crap did you do for all the off season and working toward getting ready for the real season to start? And then you look at Baylor right now. Baylor, that wasn't a big win. They're 3-4. I mean, they're just are 4-3. They're 4-3 or 3-4. One of the two. They're not very good, is my point. So I was thinking that maybe, Auburn went on the road, got that, and looking at Baylor's schedule, they had a couple of hiccups in there with SMU and some teams, but they would be able. But Arizona State beat them. SMU beat them, and they were close games. But I mean, they are what they are too. They probably gonna end up with, 4 losses, something like that, and just an average bowl game. So you really ain't beat anybody.
It's every year. I mean, you're a broken record. You say it every single year. I mean, last year we thought Cal was good. Last year we thought Arkansas was on the up. I mean, you keep going. I mean, we make teams that
they're not any good. None of them are any good.
And the problem is it's where we sit in the pecking order. And right now it's dead at the bottom of the SEC. And I never thought we'd get here. I didn't. And we deserve so much better. I mean, the Auburn fan base, the way that we show up and support, what I see in that stadium every Saturday night and out there tailgating, and how many people I see continue to show up when they're clearly frustrated, is the worst part of all of it, Brett. So, heck, maybe at some point in time, the powers that be will get this right from a coaching standpoint and a leadership standpoint. But until then, I think we're just positioned to be where we are. And it's unfortunate, but it's the state of the program right now. Can't spin it any other way.
No, you can't spin it any other way. And we're all exhausted from saying the same things over and over. I mean, really. And so I know every week we go, well, if it doesn't happen this week, or if it doesn't happen, like, seriously, against a 2-5 team with the roster you have, if there's not some semblance of improvement against a defense as terrible as Arkansas, I don't know what you're waiting on anymore. I'm just being honest about it. I mean, I don't know. Everybody hears all the different things and people saying different. I mean, I get so much information every day. It's so hard to sift through it all and to determine what is actually accurate. So I'm very apprehensive about just saying stuff on here. But there's just so much feel that there's still a lot of guys in He Freezes corner, man, in higher positions. And you know what? Kudos for loyalty or whatever. But at some point in time, what's the most important thing is how can you be in a leadership position and be happy with where this program is my question. That's what you ought to ask yourself if you're in that position. And how much more of this can you stomach? And at what point in time does it become an utter embarrassment? I think we're right there at it now. But that's kind of where it is.
Well, let me close with this, and I'm going to ask you a question. I mean, what does it hurt to let him finish out the season? And if it's an abysmal year, which is the direction that it's going in, and say we only win a game or two in the SEC play, I mean, why let somebody else step in and take that? At this point, what does it benefit us to not wait until the end of the season? I mean, we're not going to hire somebody right now anyway. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks just let him have to suck it up and deal with this. I mean, this is what he created. This is year 3. There won't be any excuses. There won't be, we're so close. Let's see if we're close. You know, let's see how we play the remainder of the season. And if it's awful, let's just go ahead and witness it. I mean, we've already stomached it up to this point. And Brett, I think I'm in that. I think I'm on that side of the ledger. I'd say just let him go out there, finish this year, get rid of him at the end of the season, get rid of the entire staff at the end of this season, not feel like you got to keep everybody around, and then move on. I know it's disappointing because a lot of those assistant coaches, especially DJ Durkin and that defensive staff, don't deserve this, but that's the profession that you chose, and that's where we are as a program.
Well, I just think, and I'll just say it, Auburn needs a personality change at head coach. The last 4 we've had have all been nice guys, you know, low key, not show very much emotion. Auburn needs a personality change.
I think it's the reason we embrace Carnell so much. The last half of the season that we had him,
Yep.
It was an Auburn feel that you and I grew up with. It may not have been dynamic on the offensive side, Brett, but I knew that there was passion in that stadium around him. So I agree with you.
Yeah, just need somebody that's going to be. It's just need a different mindset. I don't know what that looks like or which coach that is. You can go out there and look at John Gruden and John Summerall and a lot of these guys that are being kicked around as possible next guys at Auburn. And they all, like the 2 that I just mentioned, are complete fireballs. But they all coach. It's not like you can be a fireball coach and be a terrible coach. But you can be a fireball coach and keep everything organized and everybody. Like Nick Saban was a fireball coach, obviously. But there was no question. There was complete organization and things were where they needed to be and people knew where they needed to go and all this kind of stuff. Auburn needs somebody that's got a personality that demands respect on the sideline, is not going to get bullied, not going to take crap. Like, I ain't even talked about the coin toss in overtime, and I'm not going to go into that. But I've never been so pissed off in my entire life. I'm telling you right now, and you know me and I know you, a guy on my field standing on my logo, chirping his mouth, they're going to kick me out of the game. And we may lose the game because that guy's running his mouth, and they may, I don't know if you can get a 15-yard penalty to start so we get the ball to 40 instead of 25. But that guy dropping F-bombs and let's effing go, and we know what time it is, and out there, I'm punching him in the face. And there's about to be a fight in the logo and go, okay, we may lose a game, but you ain't coming out here doing that. And our guys just sit there and took it. They sat there and took it. And I know he's like, well, what do you want him to do? Like, I'm getting in his face and I'm making that official tell him to shut the you-know-what up and to get on his side of the field. But I'm not going to stand there while he chirps in my face. That was just complete disrespect, on Auburn's field, on the logo, just kind of telling. We got to have personality change, man.
Well, part of that's officiating, though. I mean, that's to allow that to get to that level.
That's what I'm saying, though. But I'm going to step in, and I'm going to step in if that guy's not going to do his job, and I'm going to defend. I'm going to defend my turf.
It's unfortunate that it's to the situation where you've got to go, okay, I'm going to get thrown out, and everyone's going to blame it on me. And I mean, I can put myself in the shoes of the Auburn players. Officials just allowed that shouldn't be allowed. Period.
I'm with you, and it was on the loudspeaker, by the way. I don't know if you could hear it. But it was on the loudspeaker.
They should have had to start that drive at the 40.
For him out there acting
penalty and start the drive at the 40, and you come up here and you do. But officiating so bad right now that they don't keep these things clean and let them do whatever the hell they want.
You said it right there, and I guess I've just gotten so numb to people just acting crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And just doing stuff, and there's no discipline.
No,
and like that official should have just. He was in the middle of the coin toss talking to the captains, and he's over there hollering. I'm stopping right there going, I'll tell you what, how about you get out of here? And how about I'm throwing this flag at a coin toss for unsportsmanlike conduct? But like you said, it forces then somebody to step in and retaliate. So you're right. I mean, we can go down this list but that pissed me off. It was disrespectful. And, kind of set the tone. Then the guy went out there and made a sack to end the game. So, obviously it worked for him. Old Number One Customs. People go check out my Instagram and my Facebook page. They did such a tremendous job on our bathroom remodel. We could not be more happy. It's exactly what we envisioned. I just can't say enough. Go check them out. 334-752-6162. If you got a bathroom, kitchen, bedroom, outdoor living space remodel, you want them to come do it. It is unbelievable work that they put out there. JFA Blue Plumbing, 844-JFA Blue, for the Home Atlas Water Filter Duo system in your house, providing purified drinking water. That's what you want. You go look at the filter and see what comes out of the water in the tap, you'll get a filter. I promise you. And they'll also, if you have any plumbing needs, they're the ones to call, 844-JFA Blue. Oliver Ross, a full-service bartending company that will come to your function, set up, take down. I've been to multiple things here lately with Oliver Ross, weddings, parties. They had the bartending service. It is perfect. I don't know what else you'd look for. Frat parties, sororities, private parties, conventions, it doesn't matter. 20 to 20,000, they can handle it. Check them out. And then finally, Russell Medical Center, one of the top 3 hospitals in the state of Alabama, voted there. And you get big city healthcare in a small town atmosphere. Great doctors, partner with UAB Health. Really appreciate them. And if you're looking for a great healthcare facility, it's right up 280 from Auburn going toward Birmingham. Again, Russell Medical Center. All right, Randy, anything else you want to add this morning?
No, just get us to the end of Saturday and let's get to basketball season. I hate to be that way, but that's where my mind is right now. I did hear a little bit from Stephen on, what they're working on from the game. And, I said this, I'm looking forward to the season. If we can defend in the post, Brett, we're dynamic on the offensive end.
Right.
Tahad's not going to go 4 of 16 shooting the ball too often. I mean, this team's got some pieces on the offensive end, and I think Stephen Pearl will clean it up defensively. I'm very much looking forward to basketball season.
Yeah, we saw Coach Pearl yesterday. He met with us for a little while, about 10 minutes, and then had a couple players come in. So we'll have some of that coming out as well. Again, getting ready for their next game coming up. But we're shifting focus to there as well. So we'll have a lot of that coming up for everybody. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Auburn Blitz this morning. I'll be with JJ today at lunch. So make sure everybody tune us in. We'll have more of this.
Get ready, Brett. That phone. I forgot because we do so many of these podcasts. The phone rings off the hook. Brett and I did a afternoon call-in show for a lot of years, and I forgot how much I enjoyed it, Brett.
Yeah.
Because here on this podcast, we get a lot of comments back and forth.
Right.
Doing the show yesterday, we were too wide on calls every segment.
This is two or 3 weeks in a row for y'all.
It's great. I very much enjoy that. So it's a call-in show and probably something that Brett and I'll never go away from with our business set up, because it's so enjoyable to hear from the passionate fans that we've got out there, especially on the TV side.
I totally agree. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, everybody, have the best day ever, and we'll catch you at lunch, guys. Have a good day.